guys, it's Cynthia back again with another card project. And again today, just like my last video, I'm going to be using these beautiful layered colorful blooms dies from Spellbinders. And this was my small die of the month, April 2019 purchase. So before I get into all the flower making, I am going to do a little bit of ink blending using this really pretty template here. And this stencil, if I can read, it's from My Favorite Things, and it's called Circle Burst. So that is what I am using, and then I'm just using a real nice piece of my Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm going to be using a selection of distress inks. So I have Worn Lipstick, Festive Berries, Wild Honey, and Spiced Marmalade. And my thought was that I'm going to have these colors starting here, going all the way to the end, and then going back out again to the very beginning, so that when I'm done, I'm going to have a gradation going from the pink to the red to the yellow to the orange, and then yellow and red and pink again. So you'll see what I'm doing once I go along. So I have a little selection here of these blender brushes, so I'm going to be using them, and I haven't used them yet. I've used one to play with and I love it, but I'm going to just kind of work through the bristles just a tish before I get moving. And I'm going to start with my Worn Lipstick. Now you could just go on and on and on and on, intensifying your colors and blending more and doing all kinds of fabulous things. So this is a great way to just play and play and play with color and see what you get. Oh, look how pretty. Gosh, that is just lovely. Now, ideally, I would have protected my surface so that I didn't end up with this line. Although, look how soft that fade is. So, see, it was a mistake, but it was a pretty one. Anyway, just look at those beautiful colors. I really hope that they're coming across nicely on film, because in person, they're really, really lovely. So anyway, I'm going to call that good. And since I had this little boo-boo, I'm going to go ahead and just trim my piece. Now, please remember that when it comes to distress ink, even though it is dye ink, excuse me, it is going to be a little damp to the touch, just for a bit. And you could potentially smear the color. So knowing that, I'm going to set this panel aside to dry completely, which won't take very long. So to create some custom cardstocks for cutting out my flowers, I just went ahead and took each one of those 4 colors again. So it was Worn Lipstick, Festive Berries, Spice Marmalade, and Wild Honey. And then I just took some little rectangles of my Nina Solar White cardstock, and I just literally rubbed the ink pad face right onto the cardstock to transfer the ink. So I have fully saturated colors here, and I wanted something a lot more vibrant and rich, so it would help it stand out from that softer background. So again, I'm going to go ahead and let these papers dry before I move on to the next step. All right, so for my layering, I actually made a slight adjustment, and I didn't feel like these two contrasted nicely enough for a flower base and a flower center. So I went ahead and flipped it over, and then I colored in with some ripe persimmon. And so I'm using that as my flower center, and then I edged it just a tiny bit with some rusty hinge, and that gives me the depth of color that I'm looking for. And there's Owen crying in the background. So anyway, I decided that to assemble these, I'm going to use some little gold brads that I have in my stash. I have this cute little set of jars, and then I put my brads in there. So I couldn't find my official piercing mat, so I have a stamping mat I'm going to use instead. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a nice hole through those 2 layers. And there's my second one. So there's those 2 little flowers, which are super cute. And then this is that Wild Honey piece, which I felt was a little too light for the orange flower, or I should say a little too similarly colored. But I did cut some yellow pieces, and I'm going to use them in the center of my pink flowers. So I'll get that lined up somewhat. And then this is going to take a little more strength because I'm actually piercing 3 layers of cardstock. All right, so there are my 4 little flowers. And of course, I'm going to want some leaves. And the die set comes with a nice assortment of leaves. And I think for this, I'm just going to do the little leaves. So there's a base piece, and then there's an accent piece that goes on top. So let me go ahead and cut those out. And I'm wondering, what do you think? Should I keep with the Distress ink theme, or should I just go for some green cardstock? All right, I found some really beautiful greens in my cardstock collection. So this is Green Room from My Favorite Things, and this is Sour Apple from My Favorite Things. And I love their cardstocks. If you don't have any yourself, I highly recommend getting some because they are a terrific quality and come in a vast array of colors. So I'm going to use my little tiny sidekick, which I absolutely adore. Most of my dies are small. Excuse me. Most of my dies are very small, and so they fit absolutely perfect in this little die cutting machine. And it's just so easy and fast to crank out all of these pieces. All right, so for my sentiment, I am going to use this stamp set. It's from My Favorite Things, and it is the From the Heart stamp set, and I'm using the Love You Lots sentiment. I'm gonna want to trim that down, and I don't mind that it's going to be a thin strip. That's kind of what I had in mind. So I'm going to get this super skinny. There we go. And then I'm just going to use a top folding card base, which is A2 sized. And I'm not sure how I'm going to want to do this, if I want it centered and then trim the sides, or have it be a little off center and trim it like this. So what do you guys think? I think I'm going to trim just a little bit off of one side. And make it a little, well, trim more. So that's about 4 by 5 1/4. So that is my finished card. I think it turned out super, super pretty, and I absolutely love that background. It is so soft, and the way the colors just blend together so smoothly, it's wonderful. All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed this card project as well. This die set of layered flowers is absolutely stunning, and I really recommend that if you're looking for a pretty set of flowers, this is great, especially for card fronts, because you have smaller flowers and then it goes up to something even larger than this one, so you get a nice variety. So anyway, thank you so very much for joining me, and please be sure to come back soon for another card project with the nicer weather and sunshine and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of puts me in the mood to play and have some fun, and hopefully that means plenty more card projects. So stay tuned to this channel. If you're not a subscriber yet, I would love it if you joined all of us here. And also, I want to encourage people to leave comments, you know, just say hello. Leave a little comment if you like what you see, and certainly if you have any questions. I do try to answer all the questions that I get to the best of my ability, so please don't be shy. Jump on in and get involved. So in the meantime, you guys have fun crafting wherever you are, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.